She was there.
Yeah.
All right, she got a story to tell, and we are very happy to have her on for us this evening. And without further ado, one more time, y'all, show some love to our guest this evening, Miss Chevon
Yay!
Hey,
Humphrey.
girl, everyone.
Yay!
Yes, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and it's good
Pleasure
to
is all
see
ours.
everyone.
Yes.
It's
Hey,
good to see you too, Auntie. I'm sorry, Siobhan.
It's out there now.
So,
out there now. Yeah,
I
yeah.
messed up immediately. Like I thought I was at least going to right the first couple of
That's my name. I'm
times.
everyone's auntie because being that I,
Yep.
I did experience 9/11, that just tells you all that I have 20 years on you guys.
And that's what
Yeah.
we looking forward to really hearing about. Like, I
Yeah.
know, like we were just saying, like this is 20 years later,
Yes.
which is insane, and I can only imagine how this conversation is gonna go. But we're going to go ahead and we're gonna get started, and we're gonna take our viewers and our listeners down the path of what that day looked like for you, because it was different for everybody, but you were there,
Yes.
and it was something
Mhm.
that I'm sure it really sticks with you to this day. So first thing we want to kind of kick off with you is what was your role, or what where did you work in that vicinity or in that area?
I worked on at Prudential Securities um, on Whitehall and Broadway. So it was like about 7 blocks from the World Trade Center. And even though it was 7 blocks, it's not really long blocks. They're somewhat
Yeah.
short blocks. But it was just a normal day until I got off the train at 8:45. I got off the train at Bowling Green, and as I'm walking, I just see everybody looking up. And so I started looking up too. And all I see is a lot of paper flying in the air.
Mm.
And then, you follow the trail of the paper to see, where the start is. And then I see the one of the towers is on fire. And the first thing you think is, oh my God, but you don't think, or at that moment I didn't think it was a terrorist attack. Um
Mhm.
I think me and everyone else, looking up, just thought that it was a bad fire. So I continue on to work, and by the time I got in my office, um, my coworkers had it on CNN, and it was stating that a plane crashed into the towers. And then you realize at that moment how serious, this is. Your loved ones is calling, making sure you're all right and stuff. Um, and I was extremely nervous for some reason, and I really couldn't sit in my office. So I kept going outside. Um, I, for some reason, I just kept going outside. And in those 7 blocks, it wasn't chaos. It was still calm. It's like, the chaos was 7 blocks away, you know, but you're there, but you're not hearing, it was like a calm in the air. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know if I heard fire trucks or not, but it still feels calm. Um, where I'm at. So I go back upstairs, and I talk to my mom and everything, and we're watching it on CNN, and um it really got serious then, because
Now,
you saw people jumping.
excuse me, real quick. I just want to ask you, Auntie, because the thing is, like, and see, look, I'm slipping it in there too. But now I want to, because the thing is that because you're getting right there into the point where I think it got real for people, right? Where it's kind of like you're like you said, it was calm leading up to
Right.
it. Like you seen that, okay, there obviously there's a problem going on, and we're hearing what's going on,
On
but
TV.
nobody really knows what's, nobody really knows
Yeah.
what's what. So in that moment, right, it's kind of stepping back to that moment, and like you said, it was calm, and there was like a slight pandemonium down the way. But what do you think was like the mentality for everybody across the board? Like what do you think was the consistent mentality for everybody?
I think it was, besides disbelief, that I don't think, even though you think, oh my God, a plane went into a building. Um, Before you saw it on CNN, it's just words that
Yeah.
you can't put a picture to it. It's just words. A plane went into the building. And then you just, say to yourself, you pray to yourself that, I hope a lot of people that, uh, come to work early, because the first plane hit like 8:36, I
Yeah.
believe, something like that. So you just pray in your heart that, you know, people didn't show up early for work. That's your thought. And like I said, you really in disbelief, but then seeing it on your computer, the havoc that is taking place them 7 blocks away. It's like the realization is hitting you, like, oh my God. And then you have the reporters saying, the building is not strong, and then the next thing you know, the next plane hit. And that's when really all HELL really broke loose. And after the second plane hit, I went outside, and it was pandemonium. People were running,
Just that quick.
just that
Right.
quick.
It's just, yeah.
People was running. It was the first time that I could see fear in police officers' face. To be honest, I saw that, and I will always remember that look, and that made me feel like, oh my God, we have to save ourselves, because by time I could get back upstairs and get my pocketbook so I can go, um, like I said, people was running. The first building fell, and when it fell, like beige smoke just came sweeping through. And now we have all this stuff all over us, and it's pandemonium. You cannot ask a cop a question. I mean, it was just like every man for themselves. That's how I felt. It was every man for themselves. You have to figure out how to get yourself to safety.
Survival mode just kicked it. It had to kick in.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I had heels on, so I remember I had to take them off to run across the bridge, and it wasn't to run because we thought the terrorists. Well, we had no idea.
I know. Yeah.
We had no idea. If the terrorists hit twice, who to say that's the end of it. So you really have no idea. My whole objective was to get out of Manhattan. And I remember taking my shoes off. I was separated from my coworkers because I'm in survival mode. I'm not worrying about what Harry, Jan, whatever. where are they? I'm in survival mode, so I'm moving by myself. And um, I remember making it on the bridge because it's extremely crowded, and like I said, you can't really see because it's black, and the sad thing is, breathing in that stuff. Um, and it was very powdery. It didn't smell burn or nothing. It just smelled powdery. Um, and I remember going over the bridge and helicopters went was flying over the bridge, and that created another hysteria because we didn't know if that was terrorists and they was going to shoot up
Mhm.
the bridge, or bomb the bridge or crash into the bridge. So then people really started running and falling. It was pandemonium. I was standing, like, we had like a balcony, well, not a balcony, like steps that comes up to my building, so like a platform of steps. So when you could see the smoke just come out. Fortunately, I was able to brace myself, and then, like I said, people are still running out of the building because they are evacuating the building. So you don't want to go out into the smoke, but you really don't have a choice,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it,
Where are you gonna go?
right.
What else? Yeah.
I always thought that was a bad idea for them to kick people out the way they did, but on the flip side, like I said, it was nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody, not the
There.
police, not the fire trucks. I guess the fire trucks is focused on, trying to get the people out of the building. So I didn't really see that. I just see most of the pedestrians and the police running from um, the South Street ferry, because the ferry is there also. So cops are running up. Um, the cops are running.
They're running along with the pedestrians because for them, they had to survive too.
Exactly, exactly. And um,
And I know that had to take the anxiety to another level.
Hmm.
Like you
um,
said, because they serve and protect, you know what I mean, and you seeing and you watching
right,
them.
and they couldn't.
Yeah, there was no one to go to know what to do. But in this type of
Mhm.
situation, this isn't something that you can predict to happen and you can prepare for.
Exactly. And I also picture in my mind, um, they running up towards the World Trade Center, but how many of them didn't want to go in?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
how
wow.
many, didn't want to go in, and how many chose not to go in, and how many
Hmm.
with the guilt of not going in.
Hmm.
When I finally made it over the bridge, it was daylight. I mean, the sun was shining. It was like nothing happened.
Oh
and
wow.
and coming off the bridge, the post office is, a main branch of the post office is there, and the workers was at the end of the bridge giving out wet cloths and water, bottles of water, because we were black. No, we weren't black, we were gray. We were gray from all the from the building falling. So all that, I guess, debris of asbestos, cement, you know, we were all I was all covered in my hair. My hair was a different color. I was a different color. I was totally a different color. I was, you know, ex- everyone just extremely dirty, you know, to where when you do like this, it was thick. it was thick on your skin because it was just, debris just landing, powdery debris just landing on you. And when I got to the end of the bridge, I remember people like looking at me, and I could admit that I was in shock. I could admit that I was in shock.
Pretty
Um,
much from the moment everything, the chaos happened up to this point, you you were in shock.
no, I think I'm in shock once I feel safe.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Now I can
Mhm.
feel.
You
Before I'm
feeling everything, yeah.
right, I'm
The
thinking,
yeah.
I'm moving. I did when I made it over the bridge and I just see daylight and you just see a whole bunch of people at the end of the bridge just asking what happened to you, and not only me, they asking everybody because they see on the other side of the bridge is black,
Mm.
you know and if you're not in front of the news, you have no idea of what's going on because nobody knew. And now I'm at the other side and I'm in Brooklyn, and and I remember this Asian man, as I'm walking by, he grabbed my hand and he's asking me, "Are you all right?" And I couldn't even speak.
Mm.
I couldn't speak, but I could just remember looking him dead in his eyes, and I want to say something, but I can't. And I don't even know if I shook my head, but he let my hands go, and I continued to walk. I happened to run into two girls that I used to work with years ago, and they stopped me, and they was like, "Chevon, what happened? What happened?" And they actually live in my area. They got thrown off the train
Mm.
because when they said when I guess the second plane hit, they just shut the train off and put everybody out. So nobody made it to Manhattan, and people that didn't know were still trying to get to Manhattan,
Mm.
and that's where they were. And they asked me, what happened, and I was like, it's chaos, right? And it was a church right there, and they took me inside that church and they sat me down and they wiped my arms off. They wet the rag that they had gave me from the bridge, and wiped my face and stuff. And I think at that moment I felt safe because now I'm with somebody and now they could think. And I know she lived where I live. So I think at that moment is when I felt safe. And my mother was outside on the street waiting for me.
That sound like her.
She was
Yeah.
waiting for me because I finally had reception. There was no reception in um, Manhattan, and I didn't think to call her when I got in Brooklyn. When I got in the cab is when I called her, and she said, let her know I was safe and she's gonna meet me outside. And when I got out that cab and I saw my mother, oh my God, did I cry? That's when I cried, and I felt that I survived. I felt I survived.
Over that climax now where you've made it, you're calming down, you have that safety, you now had that emotional, like, let go, you know what I'm saying, because
Mhm.
at this whole point you've been shocked. Now what is it like as you're learning what the hell just happened?
Honestly, um, when I when I got to my mom, I went upstairs. I took a shower. I went straight to bed. I didn't. I It was on my mom's TV. I turned it off. I couldn't
Mhm.
take no more at that moment.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't. If So I really didn't learn nothing more until late that night when I saw the people jumping. Um, oh, um, honestly, all I could feel was I'm a survivor. I survived it.
Did you notice when you were at work and everything was happening that people were jumping from the Twin Towers at
Yes.
that time? You could tell at that time.
Well, they was jumping from the first building
Hmm.
before the second plane hit, I believe. So
Yeah, that's true.
so yeah, I knew.
Did you ever think about, because at one time you did work in the actual World Trade Center? Um, did you ever think about that, like if you still work there, like how if the outcome could have been different? Or
Uh,
I know
oh,
you probably didn't think about it in the moment, or maybe you did.
no, not in
Um,
the moment. Um, but I have after the fact. I have after the fact. Um, when they had that first bombing with that truck going underground,
mhm.
um, I had just maybe stopped working there, maybe 4 months. Um, I had stopped working there, so yes, it has crossed my mind plenty of times. Um, but it's not something I dwell on. It's just a thought. It's a thought that you think and you let go.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, then I will have to put myself in the shoes of the people that didn't make it, or the
Mhm.
people that had to climb the stairs down. You know, um, it's so many. It creates too many other thoughts
Mhm.
for me to feel like, oh, I was lucky.
Yeah.
No,
And
for
I
sure.
don't want to feel that way. I really don't. I don't want to feel that way. Um, so that comes and that goes. It was just it was an experience. It was an experience that I will always remember, but I don't let it. I don't dwell on it. You know, I don't dwell on it. Um, like after that, maybe 10 years later, they had the blackout. I'm at the same
Yeah.
building. You know, had to walk. So I just feel that if I was ever in the movie, a movie, the only black girl in the movie, I'm a survivor.
You're gonna get out.
I'm a survivor. They will not kill me first,
That's right.
you know? And that's how I honestly look at it. That's how I
Right.
honestly
That's
look
real.
at it, you know?
That's
Um,
very real.
that's that's how I feel. And the blackout was even worse. Um, that was
Yes.
a worse experience too, because by the time I made it home, it was dark.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm a surviving New Yorker. It'll always stay with me. And my sister, uh, my older sister, she kept telling me that go to therapy and talk about it and talk about it, and I didn't feel the need to, and only because I think with my personality, I always rationale that it is what it is. You know, whatever situation that you get in, you know, you just try to do your best to get out of it, and that was it. And honest to God, this is the very first time I've ever really talked about it. This
And that's
is the very
real.
first time.
And I'm actually I'm
Thank
humbled by that. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah, me
thank you
too.
for
Definitely. Thank you for this.
yeah. Thank you for sharing like what you've been through. I know I've always wanted to kind of talk to you about it just to see what you experience. You know, because from I hear what your mom says and your sisters has said, you know, from your standpoint of what happened. And I've never been able to hear it completely from you. So thank you for sharing. I know it's not always easy to share these type of incidents, and then I
No,
know
it's
sometimes.
easy.
Okay, good. I
It
think
is
I
easy.
think I think it's therapeutic to talk about it.
Yeah,
Like if you don't need therapy, just talk about it. Talk about what
yeah.
you've been through, you know? So and it's crazy because I look at it's like it's the 20th anniversary, and it feels like it was yesterday, and I wasn't even in Manhattan when it happened. Um, you know, like I didn't experience the same way that you did. I had a different experience, but
Mm-hmm.
it still feels unreal that that happened,
Yes.
that could have happened.
Yep. I haven't, even though I still work in the same area for a different company, but I'm still in the same area. I love that area, but
I do too.
I haven't been to the memorial.
Mhm.
I've heard it's very beautiful. It's walking distance from me.
It
I
is, yeah.
It is. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful.
It is, but
Hmm.
I never
yeah,
been. I never
I
went.
understand
Yep.
what you mean because I probably wouldn't have went myself
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't take Jerome.
You took me too.
Because yeah, if I didn't take you guys,
girl,
because
who?
you guys didn't know this, but it was hard for me to go there. Like it was hard for me knowing what was there before and knowing and Javon, I don't know if you know this, but like I used to just, you know, you would take me when you worked at the World Trade, you would take me to your job when you worked, you know, in the surrounding areas, like when you say you worked for Bank of America, I remember you taking me there and so I always used to just ride the train, and I will always get off at the World Trade Center because when you get out, it was just beautiful. You know,
Yeah.
it was just beautiful. So it's just like to see that it's not there, and then to know what's happened. It's hard to go back to see what is, and even after the fact, it was years that it took them to clean it. You know,
Yes.
so it was hard seeing what it once was and seeing what it be what happened and knowing what happened there. And I wasn't even in Manhattan on the day that it happened. I was in Long Island. But for you, I do remember when it happened, the first person I thought was you. And I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, my aunt works in the World Trade. And I had to remind myself that you didn't work in the building anymore and to calm down because you're not, you know, you're not in the building.
Right.
But I know you say 7 blocks, but you guys have to understand those aren't like regular, they're really not long blocks. So
Right.
maybe you could call it 3 long blocks. So she says 7 blocks, but that wasn't far at all.
Dude, like I was just telling India when I was downstairs with her. You know, I was in school when it happened, and the middle school I went to, we had trailers outside. So we were outside in the trailers, and we weren't allowed to leave out of the trailers to go inside the school building. And when you think about it, in that moment, we felt like it was safer to be in the school building instead of us being outside in the trailers. And my science teacher was telling us, like, y'all also, I don't know why she was saying this, but y'all also have to remember that, you know, Norfolk has the world's largest naval base, because we didn't know where else they were going. Like, you know, they were saying they were supposed to be going to Pentagon, Capitol Hill, White House, all these different places. And I think for her, I think that was her way of I don't know, releasing her anxiety or what, but I'm just like, why would she say that in, in the midst of this, right? And I had never heard of the World Trade Center before that. I didn't know what it was or nothing. And I didn't realize the impact until I got home and I talked to my mom. And she told me that she was in the grocery store when it happened, and they shut the grocery stores down, so she couldn't come to the school to get me. So when we got home, she talked to me about like what the World Trade Center was and what actually happened. Like when you see it on TV, it's just like, okay, a plane flew into a building, like people died. I'm in the 6th grade, so I'm like, I get it, but I really don't. So once she like really broke it down, I'm just like, I couldn't fathom, even at that age, being there and now hearing, because I don't know anybody personally. So you're literally the first person I've ever, had access to that experience that, and I still just can't imagine the thoughts or the feelings or the emotions, the anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what I would have, knowing me, I don't know what I would have did, because I'm dramatic anyway. So if I see a plane going to a building, baby, it's not gonna be good if I'm around. Like so I definitely commend you for the way that you handled it. You had to, when you're in survival mode, you really got to think quick and you got to be on your feet. And 2 planes going into a building that's right in the area that you at. That's different. Like that's not that's not normal. That's just not. So yeah. That's different.
I can actually attest to that because, ironically, my first trip to New York was 2 weeks after everything happened. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was my first time. On a witness trip, Jehovah's Witness trip. Boo.
Oh, see, I definitely went to that big watchtower. Remember that watchtower building, Auntie, in Brooklyn, by the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yeah. We don't give them too much credit. So anyway, so as far as my first time, that was my first experience for sure. Was going down, being in Manhattan, and I'll never forget the dust. It was still in the air. And just remembering
for a long time.
It was an anxiety. There was definitely an anxiety going up there at that time because it was still fresh.
Yes.
And stuff. So I definitely can attest to what that aftermath looked like and so forth. I appreciate you sharing.
Yes, I wanted to say one more thing too, from that experience. A week later, we had to go back to our office to get certain things because we relocated to Jersey, for a while, because everything there was shut down. And when I went back, you saw the army there with their rifles. It really looked like a war zone. I mean, a real war zone. Everything looked dusty. It looked like it was a place that hasn't had human activity for years. You know how when you see on TV Saudi Arabia, their buildings look, condemned. The glass is dirty. Everything is just dirt. And that's how it looked. And the army, they had the tanks, riding up the street, right up Broadway. And, you walk right past, the soldiers and they got their big weapons. And it was like a real war zone. And that was, something that will always stay with me too. Just seeing that was like the final aftermath of now, it was still burning. The debris, they were still trying to put out the fires, which was it was smothered, but I think it was within the ground was little fires, or it was just too hot for them to touch. And because I went down close, maybe I went as close as they allowed us just to see. And even across the street, the stores across the street, Centuries 21, all of the glass windows was blown out. And you could just, this was the aftermath, and that was something to remember also.
For sure.
I thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to talk about it, during this anniversary, because who knows, one year, it it might hit me upside the head and take me down. Just thought like, oh my God, I made it, you know. Um, so to talk about it now, because they talking about it now on TV, and normally
Yeah.
they only talk about it the day before. They let
Mm-hmm.
the day before of what's gonna take place and stuff.
Yep.
So I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to talk about it and to share. And even though, I feel that, oh, I'm okay, you never know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could have needed this and
Mhm.
just never took the time to sit down and think about it, So
Mm-hmm.
thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Hey, and I'm glad that this was a vessel for you, that you were able to get something out of it, and like
Yeah.
you said, it's something that is going to be out there for you to be able to look back on as well. If you do
Mhm.
have those moments, you can find that at thevarious.com. That is spelled THEVARIUS. Content for all, created by us. The same, but yeah, and you can definitely get hopefully what you need out of it in those moments, because this is something that is always going to be there. It's an open wound. Let's be real.
Mhm.
So having these different mantras, vessels, outlets is always a
Yes.
beautiful thing. So this was a beautiful time. I know that this is going to be just beautiful for everybody that's going to be able to watch this, and we appreciate everybody who has watched it up to this point and so forth. And we thank you once again, Auntie Chevon Humphrey, the Queen. We appreciate you,
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
for sure. And to the many and to the few, be motivated, be great, and be encouraged. And don't forget about our sponsors as well, y'all. Our sponsors, which are Admire Yourself Naturals and Shaded by Chanel. And don't forget about The Various, y'all. TheVarious.com. And once again, y'all, to the many and to the few, embrace the book of you. See you next time.
Ooh.
The Various.